Last night marked the return of the iconic sci-fi series Doctor Who, and for the first time in an episode called The Woman Who Fell to Earth, the iconic role of the Doctor has been taken by a woman. Now, the prospect of a female Doctor has been going on for a number of years since Peter Capaldi took over the role, when the Doctor's nemesis, the Master, regenerated as Missy, and also various Time Lords were killed and came back as Time Ladies. So it was clear before too long we'd get a Doctor who didn't have a dick. A doc without a cock. But when it was announced that it was going to be a female Doctor, as a Whovian, I was nervous, because it wasn't made clear whether this was because of an exciting new way to take the show forward, or whether it was being done to appease some screaming harpies. The Doctor has to be a woman now! And I got more nervous when it was announced who the Doctor's new companions were going to be, because Doctor Who has always been at the forefront of diversity and inclusivity, however you say that word. But the Doctor's new companions are quite clearly from a box-ticking exercise. It's like an SJW's wet fucking dream. There's Ryan, who's a young black man who's also disabled. Jazz, a young Asian policewoman, and I don't remember the character's name, but it's played by Bradley Walsh. And given that Bradley Walsh is much older than the rest of the cast and is also a professional comedian, it looks like the comic relief is going to be laugh at the old white guy. Although in the episode last night, that character also seemed blissfully unaware of the existence of aliens. Now, given the timeline for Doctor Who, and that the Cybermen were blowing the shit out of London a few years ago, it appears that that character's also got early onset Alzheimer's. Coupled with that, well, I guess the only character they missed out on was they were probably trying to cast for a blind quadriplegic Japanese dwarf just to check they had everything. But then just before the show started, the BBC ran its trailer for all its new drama series, and every drama on the BBC now, the lead character is a woman, and it's about fucking time. But this trailer ends with the line, "Welcome to the revolution." And I thought, what is it, 1976? Because if there's one corporation that doesn't want people thinking about the 70s, it's the BBC. That's when they employed Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile. But the episode itself, it was set in Sheffield. And you know it was set in Sheffield because they said Sheffield every 5 fucking Sheffield seconds. But Jodie Whittaker, who is the Doctor, is one of the best actresses of our age. And she was affecting a lot of the mannerisms that Peter Capaldi used to use, which was brilliant because it made it less of a regeneration, more of a transition. Transition's probably not the best word to use. And I say, as a dedicated Whovian, it was watchable. It was average. Nothing really jumped out. It was a slow episode. But episodes with the new Doctor always are. We've got to meet the Doctor and the new companions. But on social media afterwards, on Facebook, loads of people were really positive, and that's got to be a great thing. And then I went over to Twitter, where all the mad people live, and unsurprisingly, a few feminazis were out there. A great quote from one going, "Well, the Doctor made her own sonic screwdriver. This proves women can do anything men can." And yes, women can, but is she not aware that this is also fucking fictional? The Doctor has been a man for 2,000 years. Within 5 minutes of being a woman, she's lost the TARDIS. Also, I'm going to have to get crude here. For me, there is one various plot hole with the Doctor being a woman. And that's that the Doctor's got a new hole. Because if I woke up tomorrow as a woman, I can guarantee the first thing I would do is to barricade myself in a room with a full-length mirror and pleasure myself furiously. In fact, the Doctor's been male for 2,000 years. That regeneration's not going to last long. I reckon a couple of days and she would have masturbated to death. That being... Oh, here's an interesting aspect as well, because as we know, the Doctor's married. Although we thought we'd seen the last of River Song, the Doctor's missus, she's also a time traveller, like the Doctor is, so they could cross their time streams at some point. That'd be a really interesting storyline, wouldn't it? Sweetie, you really have changed. If the Doctor as a woman met her wife, would they, les it off? Because I pay my TV licence, and I would quite like to see Jodie Whittaker getting finger blasted by Alex Kingston. That's not likely to happen, I admit. Not on BBC One on a Sunday evening. graphic lesbian sex scene just before the Antiques Roadshow, but the critics seem to love it. And as I sound cynical, they seem to love it a bit too much in some cases. One journalist saying, "It's simply the best episode of Doctor Who ever," and no it fucking isn't. It's nowhere near the best. It was okay, it was a good start. And the reason I feel a cynic is that when people are all raving about how great it is, it makes me think they're doing it because they have to. Because not doing so could be construed as sexist. The same as when Black Panther came out. Every single journalist, 10 out of 10, best Marvel film ever made. I went to the cinema to see Black Panther. I thought it was mediocre shite. Half of it was just African Star Wars, and on top of that, I identified more with the villain. He was the rightful king of Wakanda. But now we have got a female Doctor. She's a great actress. Let's give her a chance and see where it goes. And if nothing else, we can take something from this. Most of the episode, Jodie was wearing Peter's clothes because she'd just regenerated. Now, as a bloke, all men will know, on a hot summer's day when you're in your jeans and t-shirt, sweating your fucking bollocks off, not sweating them off, kicking them about round your knees because that's how far they drop, and you see women in their summer dressing and you go, God almighty, that looks comfortable. Now we can all do it. On a hot summer's day, gents, just put a summer dress on. If anyone asks what you're doing, explain, I'm a Time Lord, I've just fucking regenerated.